Well, I'm a few days late to this one, but the Commander Unban list, the Unban 5 cards. Braids is one of them. The one from the Jace spellbook, Gifts Unforgiven. Sway of the Stars. Panoptic Mirror and Coalition Victory. I totally have them on the monitor next to me. Gotcha. Anyway, these bands don't matter. Why does it not matter? Well, you see, this is a lesson. It's a valuable lesson. This is why when I do my mass openings, right? My approach to mass openings is very different. Normally when someone does a mass opening, they take everything, they dump it all, they get rid of it, then they sell the bulk, right? And they make 10, 20% really quickly. What I do with my mass openings is very different, right? I look to recoup between 85 and 100%. I don't look to make profit initially. What I do keep is the foils and the bulk, and I move the bulk as, as time goes on, and my bulk is where I make my profit margin a lot of the time. Now, you're like, well, Richard, this just sounds like everyone else. Big caveat, I don't sell everything. I keep a ton of the rares and mythics that are bulk. Why do I do this? This is a perfect example. What happens, and you see this in Magic all the time, is new sets release and new things come out, new broken combos appear. This happens from time to time, and you just have to be aware. What inevitably happens when these unbans and new sets release is that older cards that were bulk become broken, or they become a key piece of a ban, or they become a key piece of a combo, or they're definitely going to be a future ban. Whatever that ends up being, right? So for me, Modern Horizons 1 being an example, right? I have a 4-row that is almost completely full of rares and mythics. Most of them are not listed. I have a lot of them at really dumb high prices because I know 25 cents a rare, I don't care. I'm going to wait for those rares and mythics to be $5 or $10. It's fine. I have made so much money back off of that 85 to 90%, it's not a big deal for me. I don't care. I'll lose 10% for a year or two, recoup it on the bulk, break even eventually, and I will make bananas money every time one of these cards breaks and becomes relevant again. And this is what I do, right? I do this for MH1. I caught Force of Despair when this happened. I had like 50 copies, 60 copies of Force of Despair. I was selling them for like $4 a piece, $5 a piece. Just kind of stopped restocking. So I was like, God, this card seems a little bit too good, but not like relevant. I've gotten my money back that I need out of this. I'm just going to kind of let this sit. And I looked at it, and one day, I threw it up to like $10, and all of a sudden they started getting hit, and I was like, oh, interesting. This is interesting. So I go and look, and they spiked, sure enough. So I was like, sold out in a day. So I raised it to $15. Sold out in like an hour. I was like, oh, okay. Raised it to $20. Sold out by the end of the day, and I was like, oh, okay. Sold a bunch more at $18. Sold a bunch more at $15. Sold a bunch more at $12. I now have 10 or 15 copies. However, selling those 40 other copies that I had at, say, $13 a piece, net me an extra $600 almost. Paid for 4 boxes of MH1 that I paid for. I mean, you see how this math starts to skew? So it pays for quite literally 4% of my opening from one rare spiking like that. And previously that rare was just a few bucks. Now it's back down to a few dollars. It's just chilling. I don't have them listed anymore. They're up at the dumb high price point. When they sell, they sell. I also have other cards listed very high and aggressively. It's fine. This is a very notable lesson. Any product that is in a modern product, if you can do a mass opening and retain as much of the bulk rares and mythics as you can, do it. Because long term, your risk to gain is substantially higher by holding that bulk, right? Bulk, insert air quotes. Those rares and mythics have an exponentially higher ceiling than, say, a common does or an uncommon. So for me, I move the commons, uncommons, eventually break even. It's fine. And I sit on that bulk until that bulk becomes very, very relevant. Force of Despair. Unbound Flourishing spiked super hard. Echo of Aeon spiked super hard. Force of Negation spiked really, really hard one time. I went up like $75 a card at one point. It was kind of crazy. I was like, what the fuck is going on with this? What the fuck? Jesus. So I sold some copies of that at like $70. It was really weird. But again, this is why it's super important when you're listing large amounts of inventory. You're doing these 10, 20, 30, 50 plus box openings. You don't list everything at once. List in waves. Keep your bulk. This is important because when these spikes occur, you can really capitalize and push an extra little 5 or 10%. And if you do that across 100 rares and mythics, you begin to see where this turns into a huge upside potential, right? So I've been doing this for a while. I'm going to do it with Theros Beyond Death. I did it with Throne of Eldraine. I did it with MH1. I will do it. Jesus. What else? Actually, I think that's it for the mass openings I've done so far. I need to do some more mass openings. I do have plans to hopefully do Baldur's Gate. We'll see. I need to source first. And Streets of New Capenna is something I am looking at doing. I'll do the same thing with this. I'll move all those rares that are $15, $20, $10, maybe $8. Get rid of all those, all the mythics that are not under $1. I will take the rest of that, throw it in a 4-row, and just wait. And I will be patient, and it's fine. I'll put my little stopgap in there for those cards, and when they get hit, they get hit. The interesting thing is I'm not sure how I'm going to long-term scale this, right? Like, I guess I can just always have it at like 472 or some weird number, and I can be like, oh, okay, that's got hit. And I might know. Maybe I should do that. I'll take the Costco approach, because Costco does do that. I don't know if you guys know this about Costco, but the pricing at Costco, because again, I'm totally cheap as hell. The pricing at Costco, whether it's like 99, 89, 69, like, nice. That actually means something for the products. Like, you know how old it is, where it's going, what it's done. Like, those prices actually mean a lot. It's a Star of Death. So, like, when you're walking around Costco and you see little star asterisks on the price tag, you know that product is, once it's gone, it's gone. It's not coming back. Well, it might come back, but it's gone for now. That's called the Star of Death. Fun fact. So, as Costco shoppers, these are very valuable facts. You must learn the way of the Costco. The cost low, keeping the cost low. Anyway, so we have this commander ban announcement, right? These 5 cards get unbanned. They spike 2,600% in 12 hours, up 900% in 14 minutes. Like, you see all these news articles from this unbanning, right? I'm just looking at it, I'm like, huh. Yeah, I don't really care. You know? What I care about is what's next. I believe Mana Crypt, Jeweled Lotus, these are very interesting cards. I am not actively pursuing them because, again, I think there is too much risk currently at the price points they're at. However, I do believe that there is a high potential for those cards to be unbanned / become relevant. And now you're like, oh, well, you're just speaking the obvious and blah, blah, blah. Now, this is where it gets a little less obvious, right? So a lot of people think these cards are going to be unbanned. I think they will be as well eventually. I am of the mindset and opinion that WotC is in zero rush to unban those cards. Why? Well, it was a very dramatic thing when that happened. They took over the Commander League. They took everything over. There was death threats and blah, blah, blah. One, if you're dumb enough to send a death threat over $150, fuck right off. Like, why? Like, what's wrong with you? Stop. It's $150. Like, you'll be okay. Go work a few extra hours. Like, it's fine. It's inevitable. It happens. Whatever. The reality is that at some point, WotC wants the reprint equity of those cards, and they are cards that solo held up some sets over the long term, because Mana Vault at $190, pretty good mythic when you hit it, pays for most of your box. Jeweled Lotus at $90, paid for most of your box. Sold the hell out of Commander Legends because of that one card, literally. Like, it was the hotness. Like, everyone had to have it for their commander decks. Like, it was an auto include because it's just good. Like, it's kind of broken, in fact. It's 3 mana, 3 commander. Cool. Instant. Black Lotus commander version. Fun. Wee wee wee. the reality is these cards are mana fixers, and they are very, very potent mana fixers, which means, ooh la 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 la, baby. And WotC will love to recap on that equity. Now, what I think will happen is probably not this year. I would be surprised. What I expect is probably end of next year or early the year after. I think we see one or both of those get unbanned. And someone is more than welcome to comment on this with a reminder and be like, aha, Richard, you were wrong. Ah, you suck, dude. And it's fine. I am not specking actively on these cards. Now, what I will say I will be doing is if I happen to buy a collection and there is copies of those cards in there, I will probably not sell them. I will probably keep them, and I will see what happens. I will not be proactively going after these cards unless I see Jeweled Lotus in the low teens, and I see the Mana Crypt or Mana Vault, whichever one it is. When I see that enter into the 20s and or high teens, those become undeniably delicious price points. And I don't mind throwing $1,000 at something like that when it becomes that cheap, right? Your upside versus your downside is immeasurable at that point, right? The minute those cards become unbanned, Jeweled Lotus is instantly a $100 card again. The Vault / Crypt, I don't remember which one it is, becomes a $150, $180 card overnight. You're looking at a nice 9 to 10x on these cards' values at those price points. For me, that's a juicy price point. At 50 to 100, tie my money up for 1.5, 2+ years, not really a great idea, right? Like, I can cycle my money more effectively and more efficiently than specking on bullshit like that. I generally don't spec on cards for this reason, right? Because it's expensive to spec on cards, and there's always a chance where you buy like a penny card and it turns into a $20 card and you make out like an absolute bandit. But again, like, you're just playing the lottery at that point. Like, you can probably have a better time just buying bulk and just sitting on it. Yeah, go figure. Go figure. The fun part we have with this is I've been doing this in my mass openings, and I will continue to do it. This is kind of a way that you build in your pocket profits and your dividends. Basically like building your own dividend portfolio, right? Like, you're just waiting for these rares to spike and pop off. And Unbans can do it, new broken combos can do it. And I just wanted to kind of talk about this and go over this because this is like a mentality that I've had now with my mass openings. And I know a lot of people, when they go through these mass openings, they just fire out everything. I do not do this. It's why I have this. This is about 650 to 700 Majestics from the Hunted. I kept all of these because they were under $5 a card. Most of them were under $1. A lot of them were under 50 cents. There are several that I have now listed and sold that were $1 that I sold for over 10. This is a pattern in every game, across every industry. There might be an exception with Pokemon because, like, I don't know, like, just, I'm not sure about Pokemon. It might be an exception because there's more collectors than players. But any game that has a player base, you will see this happen because the meta is what generally determines the base level value of a card. Over time, the meta does nothing but change because the companies have to sell more products. They need to move things. The game changes, new sets release, things mix up. Old cards that were junk become valuable. Rinse and repeat. This is where the trend comes in, right? So it's an interesting pattern to watch. I just wanted to bring light to it because it's something that I do. And if you guys are not doing it, I would highly recommend doing it because it's a really efficient way long-term to spec for nothing. And if you can spec for nothing, that's awesome. But, you might be in a situation where you still have to sell everything, keep what you can, and move on. Rinse and repeat. Keep focusing on building those up. And once you start getting into those 100, 200 box opening ranges, you have a lot more flexibility. Your averages start going down. You begin to start seeing less variance with things. Sorry, not your averages go down, your variance goes down. You begin to see a lot more consistency when you do these things, and this is a very valuable point, right? Once you're at that, you have a lot more flexibility in how you can manage and do things. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for the love and support. Again, we have the giveaway for these awesome shirts that are ordered. These are handmade, not handmade, but they're hand done by a local for the printing and stuff. Local business guy helped me out with pricing and stuff, so I'm giving away some of these. I will also be shooting videos of my own shirts, of course, because that's how we roll. Remember, just comment on the video, your favorite video / moment we've had in the channel. Make sure you're subscribed and you're eligible. That's really simple. That's all there is to it. Thank you guys so much for the support and love. Talk to you guys later. Always buying collections and stuff. And ta-ta for now. Bye.